Deal is not successful until you close, regardless of the fact that you've done your due diligence from the beginning. During the time you're under escrow, many things can change. An LOI is not a guaranteed deal. It just means that you're offering something and it's left for the seller to accept it. Today is one of those days that I'm not in the mood. I spent my day battling with a seller. I would not say it's a bad day, but it was too intense. And this is part of the things we'll be discussing because it's part of the process you should go through because deal is not successful until you close, regardless of the fact that you've done your due diligence from the beginning. During the time you're under escrow, many things can change. So it's important that you keep monitoring things. Because of try, I'm going to break it down into simpler parts because I know there are some people like you that are relatively new into multifamily, but not new into real estate. So I always tell people real estate is like the big umbrella. There are different aspects of it, and multifamily is one of the aspects. And it's one of the parts that I love the most because of the benefit and the fact that I can allow someone else work for me. Because if I was in single family, I have to do the job. I have to manage it myself. But if I have multifamily, I can get a property manager to manage it while I do other things. So it just gives you that ability to scale. So that's one thing I love it for. So for as many of you that are into it or are interested in it, I think you're in the right place. But the way multifamily runs is quite different from the way a single family runs. Like we know that for a single family, if there's a property, you send an offer letter to the buyer and they counter if they don't want it, period. And you guys sign it up, you go under contract. In 1 month, your lender does their thing, or if you're paying with cash, you pay at the end of 30 or 45 days and everybody goes home. But in multifamily, it's the reverse. So let me explain. So you see a property that you like, you do the underwriting and everything is fine. There's something called LOI, and the full name is letter of intent. It's an informal agreement. You're proposing something to a seller. This is what I want to pay you for your property, and this is how I want to make that payment. It is structured in your own way. There's no one size fits all. You can put it in any form you want it to look like, but there are templates that you can customize and reshape it to what you want. The idea is know that you can throw in anything you want, but you have to be very cautious that it should be competitive because you're not the only one giving an offer, especially when it's a seller's market. A seller's market is when we have more demand than the supply. That is, fewer sellers that are willing to sell their properties and so much buyers. We had that happened in 2020, 2021, 2022. It was a seller's market. Sellers were putting their prices very high and we buyers were just buying. Not me, many buyers were buying. So the point here is for LOI, you can write it as you feel, structure it as you want. You can tell the seller, I want you to do a seller finance for me. You can put in whatever you want. Now, once you've done that and you've gone through the process, dependent, there's something called the buyer's requirement where the seller or the broker really want to know what you are all about, if you have what it takes to close. So they'll give you a list of requirements for you to fill, and with that, they're going to assess if you're up to the game and all that. An LOI is not a guaranteed deal. It just means that you're offering something and it's left for the seller to accept it. Now, if you have more competitors than you that have submitted an LOI, you go through another stage called the best and final. The best and final is the stage where they will pick the best out of all the offers they've gotten. It necessarily does not have to do with the pricing. It does not mean that the highest person will be picked, and it does not mean that the low ball people will be picked. No, it just means what is most appealing to the seller. If he sees that maybe you have a very strong profile or you have shown that you are able to close in a short period of time, whereas someone else has not really shown that they're able to close and they're giving a higher offer, you might not want to take that risk. Maybe he needs the funds to do something else very fast. He might just want to go with someone he trusts that can close. In other words, just try and be competitive in your best and final so that you'll be chosen. But at the same time, you should know your limit. If the deal does not work at your limit, walk away from it. It's that simple. It's possible they'll come back to you. I've walked away from deals. I wasn't selected, but I was the backup plan, meaning that if the deal falls apart, I'll be the first right of refusal. They will give that to me before they move to someone else. On the deal I'm currently on, that's what happened. I was the first person on the list after the deal deal fell apart. So they brought it back to me and they will give you the opportunity to go forward with it or not. Once you are in the best and final, they'll pick whoever they want to pick. Now, that's when the game starts. Once that game starts, you have a period of time. Like I said, there's a difference between a multifamily agreement and a single family. The LOI, once it has been accepted, that is the green light for you to start the PSA. PSA is the purchase service agreement. That is the formal contract of what you've done. So in that PSA, once the seller has accepted it, you will give your letter of intent to your transactional attorney. So we have two attorneys that are involved in a multifamily deal. Although some legal companies, they do both. So you might just need one lawyer that is both a transactional and also an SEC attorney. But the bottom line is you need the two of them because one will help you to liaise with the seller because this is where the battle line is drawn. You're going to be fighting some battles with the seller during the PSA. My PSA agreement, typically the lowest it has taken me is 1 month. I've typically used 6 weeks to 2 months to argue before I sign on my LOI. The lowest I've done is 1 month. And that's because I want it to favor me, but the seller too wants it. So both of us have to come to a compromise. But the bottom line is there are some things that are deal breakers for me and there are some things that are deal breakers for the seller. So you need to identify what is that thing that will put your deal at a risk. So once you get your lawyer, you give your lawyer your LOI that this is what has been agreed, and they will come up with a draft of PSA. Either you or the seller can come up with a draft PSA. I normally like to do it so that I'll take time. I want to buy time as much as possible. While I'm buying time to do my PSA, I'm doing a preliminary due diligence. Because I have like 1 month, this is not a standard. You can do it in whatever way. Because I believe since I have 1 month to negotiate with the seller, let me take advantage of it and know if this is really worth it. So what I do between the time I've signed my LOI and when I'm signing my PSA, already in my LOI, I always ask for access. I need access to the property to do some checks. Definitely they will grant it to me. So once they grant it to me, it's not definite because sometimes you need to forgo something for that to happen. So typically I would say if you gave me early access, I will go hard on the 7th day, or I will go hard with 30,000. I will put an upfront 10,000 on the 7th day after I've signed my PSA. I'm not asking you to do that. It's risky if you're new. Don't go hard on a deal. If you're a newbie, don't try it. You lose your money. Even for us, I must have been very, very sure. That means I've done like 90% of the job before that my money goes hard. I must do that. I don't want to also lose money. But if you don't know the process before that and you go hard, that's it. So while you are waiting, because you and your lawyer, you're meeting the seller's lawyer, all of you are busy trashing yourself. It might get to a point you all have to be on your Zoom call and trash it out. It has happened several times. None of us refused to move the ball. So two of us, we had to sit on a call and the lawyer was like, Bibi, is this a deal breaker for you? Oh, no, I can let it go. Okay. Seller, is this a deal breaker for you? Then we'll come to a conclusion. But it takes time. The thing is, you must get a lawyer that is there to protect your interest because the broker and the seller are not for you. The broker is for his pocket. Everyone for its own self. The only person that is to a large extent qualified to fight or protect your interest is your legal partner. That is your SEC as well as your transactional attorney. So you must get the best. Don't compromise on it. Get the people that can spot issues when they see it. My legal lawyer have helped me in different cases. I told you from the beginning I was not in the mood to do this meeting because I had a very long day. We are 3 weeks to a closing of a deal, but my due diligence will not end until we close. You understand? So today I went through the range through and I saw some vacancies and I was fighting it out. And today was the day we're supposed to sign an extension. I'm saying this so that you understand that there's a lot of pressure even to the end of the deal. We're supposed to sign an extension today and the deadline was 5 o'clock. But I held them to their boss that I need to know the plan for the renewal because these leases were not due before now. Now they are going to be due by the time we close. I would not love to be handed over an empty property at closing. What is your plan? We started this battle from 9 o'clock and I signed the document 5 o'clock on the dot at the deadline because we're going back and forth. Our lawyers were involved. They were begging me, Bibi, sign. You lose your NS money. We had about almost 200,000 that will be missing if I do not sign. That was at stake, but at the same time, I was willing to risk it that I need us to come to the table because it's risky that right now the property is 91%, but at closing, some might be due and that might lead to very significant vacancies. So my point here is for the fact that a property was at 95% at the time you started your deal does not mean that at closing, that is what it will be. So your due diligence is from beginning to the end. You're checking the occupancy, you're checking the renewal, you're checking at what point in time is is the lease going to expire. So we had already known, because we have a due diligence team. We have a calendar that tells us each month which of the leases are getting due. So we've been in this process for 4 months and we've been tracking it. So this is June. So I was tracking the one for June. 15 of them will be due by 30th of June. We're closing 30th of June. What is going to happen? And it was a battle and I was ready to fight it out. That's why I said I'm tired, because it was back to back. It was really tough. But that is the game. That is multifamily for you. And you just have to be careful. So let me go back to after you close. I'm giving you the process. Once you've agreed on the purchase agreement, let's say the both of you have agreed on the terms and conditions, I might not be able to give you the standard because, like I said, it's always not one size fits all. You have to make this thing to the best way that it can favor you. And both of you must compromise. That's what you should know. But you should learn to pick your battles. Look for the ones you cannot let go and hold on tight to it. And the ones that you can let go, you can allow them have it. But look for those things that can protect you. So once your PSA is signed, then you dive right into your full due diligence. Typically, you have 30 days to do that. On that first period, we'll start with the things that cost us the most, like the roof, plumbing, the electrical. We check the structure. Those are the things we start with. And those things will take us typically maybe 2 days, 3 days to do. But the reports can come in like 5 days after. But in terms of checking them and bringing the professional. So on ground, I do not do the due diligence. The property management company will be on ground. The roof professional will be on ground. The electricians will be on ground. The plumbers will be on ground. And if possible, a foundation person will be on ground. So everybody, you have different aspects. You have a general contractor on ground. So for me, it's about 15 or more people on ground just on those periods. So everybody's checking and what am I doing on ground? I'm ensuring that everything is in line. So then and then, I'm having a conversation with them. What do you see? How long do you think this thing will last? Do you think it will break anytime soon? Because for the fact it's not broken now does not mean that it cannot break tomorrow. So you're trying to ask them, what do you think? How much duration of time do we have with this thing? What do you think? They'll start telling you, you know what, have a reserve for it. It's in that meeting you're kind of creating your capex budget because you're interacting with your contractor, your roof guy. If they're telling you that the roof is good, but it can last for 3 years, you should know that that means you need to save up for replacing the roof on the 3rd year. Or if they're telling you that, oh, the HVAC is good, but the life of it is just 2 years left, that means on the 3rd year, you need to buy new ones or you start buying it from now. So that is the period you start doing your capex budget. So it's very significant. I've seen people, they will just send contractors, just go check it and let me know. No, we're going to check it together. We will all go together and find out exactly what, and we have a general meeting because you can't be in knowledge of all. These people are professionals. They can literally advise you on how to structure the plan or see things that you cannot see, or you run your ideas with them that I'm thinking of this. What do you think? And they will tell you, oh no, I don't think it will work. So it's like a business. All of you are having a meeting and from there you're having a budget. So you have a budget, but it's not a final budget. That budget will still either go higher or trim down. So that is for that. After you've done that, there's something we call the walkthrough. It's a period where we go around to inspect the unit. So for me or for us, what we do when we're inspecting the unit is, one, I'm assessing the tenants big time. In my mind, I'm looking for the tenants that are not taking care of the property. Those ones are on the list to be sent out. Once we take over, please don't renew. I'm also checking out the layout of those units. And besides that, I want to also engage the tenants discreetly because most times the seller does not inform the tenant that you're a buyer. They don't do that because if they do that, most times the tenants might be scared and they will not want to renew because they're afraid of change. Oh, if someone else wants to buy this place, oh, they're going to increase rent. Oh, I have to leave. Oh, that. You can scare them. So most times the seller comes in with, in quote, the insurance company are coming to assess the property. Please give them access. So in quote, you're going in as an insurance representative. That is the coded terms we use to go into those units so that we don't scare the tenant on the property. So while we are there, you must be discreet because you don't want to also show to them that you're buying a property. So this is what I'm saying. Is everything okay? Is any of your appliances, we're asking them about their appliances. Do they have any trouble? Is anything affecting them? Is there any safety issue? Insurance company want to ask those questions as well. Then we'll not say, how is the area? Do you like it? Is it comfortable? Do they shoot? Is there crime? This is the real due diligence because it's from the tenants. You can really, really know exactly what you're up against. Tenants have saved us. There's a property we had a signed LOI and we went to meet the tenant. I just went to the tenant. I said, my sister is moving from California and I want to rent a unit. Would you advise that my sister stays on this property? The guys looked at me first and said, you don't look like someone that will stay on this property. So I don't think your sister can stay. You don't look tough to me. It's people like us that can stay. I said, no, what do you mean that I don't look tough? He said, no, this is street. street. This is rough. But when you're looking at the road, it doesn't look straight. It looks okay. But the tenant was saying, we experienced gunshots, we experienced robbery, we experienced this, you can't stay here. I just said, that's all, thank you. And I asked another one the same thing. And like, no, that she's been there for 5 years, but because she doesn't have money, that's why she has not moved. But this place is not good. So tenants are like one of your assets that you can get some due diligence from. They even tell you when a roof is leaking. They will tell you, say, this roof is leaking. We experience leakages. They tell you things that your due diligence might not even notice. And another thing I get to also ask them is, what is the issues you normally have? Some of them will say, my appliance, I experience leakages. Why do you need to have those kind of information? You need to have those kind of information because it tells you that, there's a problem somewhere that maybe you've not caught. If they're saying there are leakages, that means there are plumbing issues. You might need to check the fittings, because we also check all those fittings, and we will be able to confirm that, oh yeah, true, they have a running water, their faucets are not working well and all that. Or if they say the roof is leaking, already we might have been able to see signs of it, or we might not, because most times when you are doing a property tour at the beginning, before you even signed all this, the seller might take you to the best of the best units to check it out. They don't show you the worst. But when it's time to do the re-inspection, they might go in and do some touch-ups. It happens. They might have this water frame on the wall and they'll go quickly paint it before you come and do your inspection. And that will cover up any signs of leakages. But the tenant, if you're able to communicate well with the tenant, say, there's leakages here, they will tell you. If you can ask them properly in a friendly manner, they will tell you. So I get 90% of information from them. So they're a very great asset.